Hello, it's John from Double Sleeved here. If you haven't seen my budget land cycle video, then check it out in the description below. Here we go with 10 random budget commander lands. Number 1, Macoco Row, Centre of the Sea. For £2 to £3, Macoco Row, Centre of the Sea is a snip. A legendary land to kick things off, and like many lands, taps for colourless. What makes this special, however, is the second ability that paying 2 and tapping causes each player to draw a card. This seems counterintuitive, but where some decks fall down with card draw, white for instance, this can be fairly efficient. In decks that benefit from hand size, or even effects such as dredge, you will gain far more than your opponents. Number 2, Rishadan Port. Another tap for colourless land, but this time we have a pay 1, tap and tap target land ability. For £7 to £8, this is one of the most expensive lands on the list, but this effect can shut down some key colour fixing lands or combo pieces that your opponent needs to progress. If you want to control play and hold back your competitors, then Rishadan Port can be a very valuable land. Number 3, Spire of Industry. I've seen this land for less than £1, so really cheap to pick up. Again, tap for colourless, but paying 1 and tapping gets us mana of any colour as long as we control an artifact. In most decks, there'll be any number of key artifacts run to ramp and buff. This card is such an easy requirement to hit and can make colourless mana if needs be anyway. This is a must include for more decks than not. Number 4, Spawning Bed. A completely different vibe with this land. Tapping for colourless again, but for 6 mana, tapping and sacrificing, you can create 3 1/1 Eldrazi Scion creature tokens with sack and add 1. Well, 6 mana for 3 1/1s that make mana. And are Eldrazi? With hundreds of Eldrazi decks out there and over 100 Eldrazi synergy cards, not to mention tribal cards, this card would nestle in nicely for literal pence. Number 5, Crystal Vayne. There is a colourless theme in a lot of these cards, with tapping for 1 colourless, or tap and sacrifice for 2 colourless. Perfect for artifact decks or if you want that big turn to pop off and close out the game. Less than £1, got to be considered for sure. Number 6, Crypt of Agadeem. A card you may think is worth a lot more than it is. At £3 to £5, Crypt of Agadeem enters tapped and taps for black, but its real power is in its second ability. Pay 2 and tap to add 1 black mana for each black creature in your graveyard. In a mono black or even 2 colour self-mill or sacrifice, this is black ramp you can't overlook. As soon as 4 creatures hit your graveyard, you're making double mana, growing with every creature you send there. Number 7, Grand Coliseum. A pain land that enters tapped, gives us our colourless when we tap, or can be tapped for a mana of any colour if we take 1 damage. Yes, you're suffering a turn loss as it comes in tapped, but the utility of any mana colour for 1 life is too strong to ignore, and for £1 to £2 it is a steal. Number 8, Haven of the Spirit Dragon. There's a lot to cover here, but a usual tap for a colourless, then a tap to add 1 mana of any colour to be spent on a dragon spell, and a third ability, pay 2, tap and sacrifice Haven to return a dragon or Ugin from our graveyard to your hand. This is specific for dragon spells, but with thousands of dragon tribal decks being run, they are clearly popular, and who doesn't want an army of dragons? With most dragon decks being 5 colour, this flexibility is vital. I'd say it was definitely worth the £1 to £2 it sold for. Number 9, Shrine of the Foresaken Gods. A tap for colourless, tap for 2 colourless, however only to be spent on colourless spells and only if you have 7 or more lands. So definitely some tougher restrictions here, but artifact decks aren't uncommon. Thousands of colourless artifact decks or monocoloured artifact decks makes this card a no-brainer, and at pennies for this, why wouldn't you? Our last gem of wisdom is number 10, Untaidake the Cloudkeeper. Although the Cloudkeeper comes in tapped, you can tap and pay 2 life to generate 2 colourless mana, as long as this was spent on legendary spells. Now your downside is missing a turn with it being tapped, costing 2 life, and requiring to be cast on a legendary spell. Other than your commander, which will need 2 more mana to be cast from the command zone after its first cast anyway, there are hundreds of legend EDH decks to choose from, all of which will loving the addition of this land, and at £1 to £2 a go, what a bargain. There you have it, 10 random budget commander lands to suit a variety of decks out there. We have more land videos on the way and we'll be branching out into other card types in the future, so stay tuned and make sure you are subscribed to see them as soon as they come out. Thanks for watching, we'll see you in the next one.